welcome to TCS Yes. It's a Thursday afternoon here, January the 25th, 2018. My name is Kevin Smith, and from Transylvania County Schools, we bring you this show every week here on WSQL, 1240 AM, Q102 FM, and WSQLradio.com. It's the show about our students, educators, families, community partners, the entire family of Transylvania County Schools. This week, we're bringing you some exciting news ahead of tonight's Science and Technology Expo tonight, January 25th from 6 to 7 o'clock. For 1 hour only, you can come to the Transylvania County Library and learn about all the great things happening with science in our classrooms, special displays from our middle and high schools, an elementary science fair project as well. We hope that you'll come out. We got a chance to talk with some of our top performers, folks who have come every year and are delivering great results for their students. Students, in fact, did most of the talking for today's episode, so we're really excited to share what's been going on in our classrooms and in our after-school programs, from robotics, science fair projects, and nature and ecology studies out in Rosamond High School. But before we get too far into the show, we're also introducing Welcoming Wednesdays. Starting on January 31st, our elementary schools are welcoming kindergarten families. If you're in pre-K and looking forward to kindergarten in the fall, we hope that you'll join us for Welcoming Wednesdays. Basically morning and afternoon tours, trying to help folks gather together and learn about our schools at convenient times for them. Of course, our elementary schools are open 5 days a week from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., but we'd like to help focus some attention on those tours so that if you're still trying to get to know what's going on and you'd like to learn more about kindergarten, our small class sizes, hands-on learning programs, and more, think about coming out on a Welcoming Wednesday. We got a chance to talk with Principal Tanya Treadway at Pisgah Forest Elementary School, and we're going to bring you that interview right now here on TCS Yes. We want to kick off today's show on Thursday, January 25th here at Pisgah Forest Elementary, where we're going to talk with Mrs. Tanya Treadway about Welcoming Wednesdays. The principal and everyone is on board, ready to help families who are thinking about coming to Transylvania County Schools. Mrs. Treadway, what is a Welcoming Wednesday going to be like for you starting next week?
It's going to be just like every other day of the school year, except for we're opening our doors and encouraging any prospective kindergarten student with their families to come on in and see what we do on any day of the week.
I see from your information online you've got a Facebook event set up coming at 9 o'clock or 12:30 every Wednesday. Those are some convenient times because you'll be able to show families a lot of different things. Small class sizes in kindergarten, for starters. What is the average class size, and why does that make such a difference?
Right now in kindergarten, our class sizes are around 16 students, and it makes a huge difference because we believe that young children, as they assimilate themselves into the school setting, need to have good small group instruction with their teachers. They need to build strong, positive relationships with them. We believe in teaching the whole child, educating academic, emotional, and social aspects of the youth.
So obviously showing parents around the building to see some of the more interesting things, some of the things that help students get ready for moving on to big school when they come to kindergarten. Individualized learning and this whole experiential No Child Left Inside initiative here at Pisgah Forest Elementary. What are some of the things that families might see happening in the school if they come for a tour?
In our school, we do a lot of hands-on engaged activities. So experiential learning has a lot to do with giving children inquiry-based type activities to do. They are experiencing learning as they discover different concepts. So you will not see students sitting in rows and staring blankly at a lecture-style classroom. That's not what we do. So children are working collaboratively in groups. They're discovering solutions to problems that are posed. They do a lot of STEAM-based activities, so engineering, technology-based problems. They might be outside doing science, or they might be inside doing the arts, or maybe outside doing arts. Just a lot of integrated content. They're working in small groups with teachers' assistants and in small groups working with volunteers. Sometimes students are leading each other. We have our older students working with our younger students, with our community partners school-wide. So just leadership in small groups all across the school.
It's time to start looking at school for our pre-K students who are looking at kindergarten. If your child is turning 5 this fall, it's time to start looking at kindergarten, and all of our Transylvania County schools are having Welcoming Wednesdays. Schools are open each day for tours, but they'll be set up with some special activities for you in the morning and in the afternoon starting on Wednesday, January 31st. Mrs. Treadway, good luck with your first round of tours, and good luck with everything you're doing here at Pisgah Forest Elementary.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you. And if you can't make it on a Wednesday, come on in anyway.
Tanya Treadway, principal at Pisgah Forest Elementary School, helping us get into Welcoming Wednesdays. All 4 of our elementary schools are now open for tours every day of the week, Monday through Friday. But maybe you'll catch up with some friends and come for a Welcoming Wednesday tour. To clarify, if your child is turning 5 before this fall so that they'll be aged into the program, you want to come and visit any of our schools, check us out on the web. Go to tcsnc.org or just search on the web for Transylvania County Schools and Kindergarten, and you'll start to get the information that you need. When we come back after a short musical break, we'll bring you interviews with our Expo exhibitors tonight from Brevard Middle School, from Brevard High School, and from Rosman High School. Don't go away. You're listening to TCS Yes. Thanks for staying with us. My name is Kevin Smith, and we bring you this show every week on a Thursday afternoon. And it just so happens that today, January 25th, 2018, we're offering the Science and Technology Expo from Transylvania County Schools at the Transylvania County Library. We thought we'd talk with some of the stars of that program, and we're going to kick you off right now with folks who are going to use this as their science fair, and from here jump off to competitions in Cullowhee, and then to Raleigh, Durham, and points far beyond the borders of North Carolina. We talked with students from our Time Science Research program at Brevard High School. Here are 3 of them now telling about their experiments and what you might learn if you show up tonight. We had the lucky fortune of catching some Time students in between the work on their experiments. I'm here with Ingrid Findley, Matthew Bailey, and Emily Trussler to talk about the projects that they're bringing to the science fair this year and who knows where else. Ingrid, let's start with you. Tell me about what you've been working on.
Okay, so this year we worked on isolating different types of yeast from bee bread and to see if any of these yeasts could produce a beer with favorable qualities or maybe some new potential.
And bee research isn't something terribly new for you. How'd you get started?
No, I actually started working with bees my first year in the Time program, which is about 3 years ago, and I've just stuck with it because I ended up loving working in the hive and working with the health of the bees.
You loved working in the hive so much that you've really taken an active interest. Where did these samples come from?
They actually came from my own hives.
No kidding. So in doing this project, what are you hoping to find out? What are you hoping to show the people who are going to be looking at your project down the line when you take it to the state and maybe national competitions?
So really, since beer making has started, only 2 strains of beer are used, and we didn't really know why this was until recently when some research at NC State revealed that a yeast isolated from the gut of a bumblebee was able to produce a beer that had a sour taste and some different properties. And so really there's a movement to see what kind of new flavors there are that we don't even know what we're kind of missing. And so hopefully the beer that the yeasts isolated can produce will have some new flavor or different fermentation times or possibly some health benefits.
That's just one of the experiments on tap tonight. Yes, terrible pun. At the Expo, Thursday night, the January 25th from 6 to 7 o'clock at the Transylvania County Library. Matthew, tell me what you've been working on.
Yeah, so my group was working on isolating endophytes from spraycliff plants found
For people who don't know what endophytes are, what are those?
So endophytes are microorganisms that are found in the cell wall of the plants, and they have a symbiotic relationship with the plant.
And what have you all been doing with your samples?
So once we isolated the endophytes, we used several different test organisms to see if the endophytes produced any antimicrobial properties, and we would measure the zone of inhibition or how well the compounds from the endophytes would prevent the growth of the test organisms. And for those we used E. coli, which is a common bacteria. B. cereus, C. albicans, which is like a yeast infection, and we also tested against the chestnut blight, which is pretty important because it's killing a lot of the chestnut trees in America.
And it's presentation time, which means you're having to show your results. What have you found?
So we found that we did actually have some samples that produce antimicrobial properties against the chestnut blight specifically, which is what I was really excited about.
Oh, yeah.
But also against the E. coli, the B. cereus, and the C. albicans. So
this is just one example of doing a lot of local science. Again, where did those samples come from?
So those came from Lower Bear Wallow Falls, which is located in Gorges State Park.
So time science projects almost always have this kind of local connection. Is this your first time through the program?
No, it's my second year. So last year I worked with I focused on whirling disease and oligochaete populations in Transylvania County, so in the French Broad and Davidson Rivers.
Well, good luck with your project.
Thank you.
And Emily Trussler, I'm over here looking with you. Let's take a walk for just a second. And lots of little squiggly things moving around in these containers. What is it that students are working on in your project?
So my partner and I this semester were looking for a fungus that would kill mosquito larvae. And so now we're just running some kind of secondary tests with some new time students to test the fungus a little bit more on the mosquito larvae.
We were talking before I started the recorder, and I remembered that this is a theme that's come up again and again in some time projects. You all have really hit something strong this year.
Yeah, there are a couple projects actually to do with a fungus killing insects. And it's just a really cool kind of natural way to control insect populations.
So if you're successful, if your results are going to be taken up by someone else and used down the line, what's the best thing that's going to come out of the research you've done? What are you hoping is going to happen?
Well, ultimately, you'd hope that the fungus could be used as part of pest control, as a biopesticide.
So this is part of the much bigger problem of mosquito and other disease vector insects. And your team might be part of the solution to helping Zika, West Nile, other diseases like that reduce or diminish or even disappear in our area.
Hopefully, yeah.
Wow. Talking with 3 time students here at Brevard High School. Tonight, Thursday, January 25th from 6 to 7 o'clock, they'll be presenting at the Transylvania County Library, but their projects will go on into Academy of Science and other competitions. Ingrid, thanks again. I'm going to return back to you. Good luck with everything you're doing tonight.
Thanks so much.
Keep that thought going. These same students who are working on projects that capitalize on Transylvania County natural resources are also going to be sharing an update on the Vector Patrol, a partnership over the past couple years between public health officials and researchers in North Carolina and student groups like ours. The only high school group in the state was here in Transylvania County. So time students as well as Brevard Middle and Rosma Middle students helped to collaborate, and they brought the Vector Patrol into existence. They're going to share an update, and we'll let you know how vector-borne diseases are doing thanks to all the work that they've been performing here in Transylvania County. To keep that theme going, we talked with students from the Southern Appalachian Nature Expeditions. If you didn't know that group existed, you might want to find them on Facebook. Both the Time program that we just talked with and the SANE, or Southern Appalachian Nature Expeditions, they both have Facebook pages where you can keep up with their latest exploits. Go to Facebook and look up Time Science Research Program or Southern Appalachian Nature Expeditions. We talked with Kevin Merrill, a teacher at Blue Ridge Community College and an assistant with us here at Transylvania County Schools. He teaches on this topic and brings a lot of students out into the field to do work with public health researchers and environmental ecology researchers from the Department of Water. They shared an update with us, and they're going to be coming to bring their invertebrate museum to the Rogo Room at the Transylvania County Library tonight. Again, that's Thursday, January 25th, 2018, from 6 to 7 p.m. Let's hear what they had to tell us about the museum display that they're bringing to the Science Expo. We're here at Rosman High School talking with teacher Kevin Merrill and students Meredith Macon and Kaylin Lewandowski about what they have collected to create the Invertebrate Museum. Mr. Merrill, what is the importance of this resource? Why is it so important that folks are going to see something like this again at this year's Expo?
The importance of having a museum is to be able to collect specimens and to be able to tag those and label those specimens according to where you found them, the date, the locality is part of that location that's crucial, the latitude and the longitude. And what it does, it allows for researchers at any given time to come and and borrow that collection or are part of that collection in order to be able to continue research. An example would be our terrestrial insects. Here recently, there's been a lot of papers that have come out. We're losing our terrestrial insects. There's a paper that came out in National Geographic, Science Magazine. As a teenager driving from Brevard to Asheville, I can remember thousands of insects being splattered on the windshield, but we don't see that anymore.
Wow. You teach a class on this at Blue Ridge Community College, and we know you're going to be busy with that for years to come, helping students memorize and kind of understand that taxonomy. What about your high school students? What do they do as they gather these specimens and put them into the museum with you?
So they typically do the same as the high school students, with the exception of the terrestrial insects, which we're just starting that in the high school. So what they've been doing is they've been following behind the college students. The college students collect them, they label them, they get them prepared for the museum. The high school students go behind them, they check to see if it's the correct specimen, the correct labeling. If not, they'll change all of that to try to get it looking a lot better.
This club has been a student and teacher-led club for a number of years here at Rosamond High School. It's called the Southern Appalachian Nature Expeditions, and we're going to talk with Kaylin Lewandowski. Kaylin, you've collected a lot of the specimens that are going to be in the museum showing up at the expo tonight. What are some of the things you found, and where did you find them?
Well, I found a couple types of beetles around my house, and that's what I've personally collected. And
Right.
I don't know what kind of beetles I've collected off the top of my head. It's been a while. But a lot of what I've done is help organize the museum, and I've
Right.
tried to do a lot of the collecting myself, but not as successful as that, or as everybody else.
You've also been involved. I remember going out on an expedition through Nicholson Creek right behind Brevard High School. What was it like for you knowing that you were helping state-level researchers, and what did you learn from that process of going out and collecting specimens over time and bringing them back here and studying them with Mr. Merrill and your fellow students?
Well, the first thing I learned was what their job even contained. I didn't realize they had these big massive packs. We looked like the Ghostbusters going through the water shocking fish. So that was the main awesome experience that I got to do and stuff.
Sure.
But I got to learn that when they shock the fish, they collect them and they take measurements so they can see the growth in our stream and how healthy our water is and stuff here.
That's great. We're also talking with student Meredith Macon, and Meredith, there's a family connection there, so we know that you often get maybe more involved than some of your other fellow students. What's it been like for you helping to gather up these specimens and bringing out the museum? What do you learn as you keep digging in and looking at these over and over again?
Well, since I've sort of grown up around it, I've always been surrounded it, and
Right.
I mean, I didn't have a choice in the beginning, but I ended up really getting interested in it because I know it's very important. And also as I go to other places and see other rivers, it's fascinating because the river here has a lot of diversity and a lot of insects and a lot of fish, and I'm I just expect that to be everywhere. But then I go out and I realize how lucky we are to actually see that.
You were talking about doing a specific kind of specimen gathering. Tell me about what it's like having to dig through leaf litter to find new samples for this museum.
It's really hard because the whole point of, bugs being brown is the leaves are brown too, so they don't get eaten. So we're kind of like the predator there. It's really tedious, but you get an eye for it because leaves don't move and bugs do. So yeah, but that was really fun. Yeah, it was a dead giveaway, but you got to see them up close to out of the water, and it was just really interesting because they have amazing patterns and all their legs and tails and all that good stuff. So.
Do you have a favorite specimen?
I don't know. I really like the darters because they're really colorful,
Okay.
and I can't think of any.
The gill darter,
Yeah,
the
there you
red
go.
line darter.
The smart man's going to tell you the names, but they're beautiful. The coloration's beautiful.
All right, Dad. Mr. Merrill, tell me more about what people are going to see if they come out to the expo tonight.
So we'll have our terrestrial insect display. We'll have a microscope. We'll bring some fishes. The people would be able to, see the different types of fishes. We have over 48 species just here in Transylvania County, and so to be able to see that diversity is something that it's a true gem. You don't get to see it every day.
And this is, again, a high-level research resource in that college students are working on this all the time. And have you had people refer back to you and use this in their research? How's this affecting what we know about the rivers?
Yeah. So not yet. We haven't. But with the recent papers with the terrestrial insects, I'm hopeful that, maybe we can provide baseline information for some research in the future that's much needed.
With the Hellbenders?
We are doing Hellbender research. We're getting a collecting permit, so the Hellbender, the chytrid fungus basically just covers the Hellbender, or parts of the Hellbender, and the Hellbender breathes entirely through its skin, so you can imagine, it suffocating and going into cardiac arrest. So we've built Hellbender traps to trap them, to swab them for that chytrid fungus, so we can mail that to the lab and to see if it's actually present on that individual. It's been found in every single population, but not every individual.
So lots to expect, and in the future, not only this past museum of exhibits that you've already gathered, but lots of good things coming in the future from the Southern Appalachian Nature Expeditions here at Rosamond High School. Mr. Merrill, thanks for sharing this news.
You're welcome. That's a pleasure. Thank you.
After this short musical break, we'll bring you back to our final segment of TCS Yes for today, talking with the Brevard Middle School robotics team to learn about their smart pipe device. With their device, for $30 or $40, you could learn how to keep your house protected against those frozen pipes that have afflicted so many this winter. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this. In getting ready for tonight's Science and Technology Expo at the County Library, I've come to Brevard Middle School to talk with a regional championship and state tournament participating robotics team led by Mr. Justin Osborne. Mr. Osborne, how's it going here in the robotics lab at Brevard Middle School?
Things are great here. We are experiencing our third year going to state. With a team that is mostly new, and things are just clicking right along. We got the right recipe going here, and we're having a lot of fun with the robot and all the projects we're getting into.
I had the fortune of also getting 3 members of the team, one of whom is a veteran of our state tournament. Lindsay Reese, you went to state last year with the Scare Bear, and you went again with the Smart Pipe this year, the great new project. Where did the idea for the project come from this year?
So the theme this year was it had to be about a human water cycle. So we came up with a couple of different ideas. One of them was a smart shower, and one of them was a solar panel reservoir thing. And then this was the thing we actually finally came up with that was actually good.
What were the solar panels on the reservoir going to do?
They were going to generate electricity. It was kind of like the black little balls on the lake in LA.
But in the end, you all took a different direction. And how did your team embrace this year's project?
We did pretty well, and we embraced it pretty well. We did a lot more research, I think. And while we didn't really end up with a specialist because of all the snow and all the weird days, we did do our best with what we got.
I'm here with Jaden Gore, as well as with Rock Smith, 2 new members to this year's team. Jaden, what was it about this year's project? What problem were you trying to solve?
Well, we heard about lots of problems of people in the area telling and talking to people about that their pipes bursted and it costed tons and tons of money to replace them.
Sure.
And it was very harsh, to some elderly people or those who were handicapped. So we're just hey, let's create this little thing. And so we were trying to make a cheap, inexpensive little doohickey that could do the job.
And Rock, in the end, what did your design accomplish? What did you all learn to create, and how did it work, the Smart Pipe?
Well, there's this thing called microcontroller. It's called an Arduino. It's basically a mini computer that we had a bread box to wire it through, and basically there's a sensor that's drilled into a little model pipe, and once you get a sensor near into a Yeti cup full of ice, there's this little LEDs on it that change colors, and green means it's good, yellow means it's getting cold to drip your pipe so the get water from and red at the bottom there's this mini hair dryer, and but there's also a newer version with a Raspberry Pi, which basically connects to your iPad or and text you like to alert instead of you watching it over the clock.
Mr. Osborne, it sounds like this is just one more ingredient in the smart home kind of design mentality, that you could have your home ready to alert you anytime you need to act. Some people are able to turn on the lights or open the garage door while they're away from home. Is this designed as maybe something that could help someone keep from, whole nursing homes were evacuated this year thanks to bursting pipes because of the cold. What's the best thing that would come out of this for folks in our area or anywhere where this design is used?
Well, we thought the product had to be easy to install and cheap. So our product, just kind of looking at what maybe would cost after mass production, possibly $30 to $50 to have a thermostat basically for your crawl space or your basement that simply required being plugged into the wall and having a hole drilled through the floor as if they were installing cable or something within the house. Nice. And most people could have that done by a relative if they were not capable themselves, or they could do it themselves. And that would basically alert them to the conditions under the house. Many of us a lot of times forget to drip our pipes when it gets that cold because it's not that cold that often. And so this would allow people to know that. And even if they are dripping their pipes and it's still dropping to that dangerous level, they would know that something else may have to be done. And something like this could be also installed in exterior walls of older buildings. Such a cheap solution to help us remind us about that is what we thought was key, because most people can't afford the thousands and thousands of dollars to redo insulation, to redo pipes. We thought this is a very easy solution that's more likely going to be used than, say, what may be the more correct answer of re-insulating a home to modern standards.
And it's surely much cheaper in the near term than a trip from the plumber or having to replace portions of your house.
Exactly. And some of our research pointed to the past 3 years, there was an estimated $4 billion spent in the United States on ruptured pipes due to ice. And just the beginning of this month with that cold weather, we saw it happen in places that haven't had it happen in maybe 20, 30 years. And a lot of them were not ready for that. So a device like this would be very key in those locations, because even newer built homes in those locations aren't required by code sometimes to have the necessary insulation to not have a frozen pipe.
This device and the demonstration are only part of what the robotics students did for the competition as well. Lindsay, as a veteran, what was it like for you going back a second time and doing the other parts of the competition? What was it like at state tournament?
The state tournament was mostly the same. We had almost the same experience. It was obviously a little different because we had different projects and different people. Right. But it was more fun because I feel like this year we all kind of meshed a little bit better and we didn't quite argue as much. There's always arguing because we're middle schoolers and we like to argue.
You all have to solve robotics problems the same as you also bring your demonstration, right? There's more than just the device. You actually do the kind of traditional Lego robotics course on the table.
Yes, we use an EV3 Lego Mindstorm, which uses a drag and drop program that you then control it and program it to do certain challenges that we are assigned each year that always go with the theme that year.
Awesome. Jaden, what was it like for you? Again, your first time on the team, when you all had to divide up the labor to do different things to succeed as a team, what was it like for you?
It was a very educational experience. I never thought it would be that big. I didn't think about the championships because I didn't know it would be that much of like a step up to the championships. It was very different. I loved it completely. I loved meeting new teams and people and like figuring out what they did and what we did. Like we collaborated, meeting new people and doing fun stuff.
Awesome. Rock, I heard you talking before we started recording for today's show. You were telling me that this in some ways is like a sport for you. You really get to do this. I mean, it's even in the name, the first Lego League. You feel like you got to compete almost as though it was another sport.
Yes, because it made us look like a bunch of geeks like checking computers with its little Lego robots, but once you're in it, it's actually more kind of exciting than you because you might think it's like easy, like, ooh, I can just do this, it'll do that.
Drag and drop sounds really easy, but it's not.
No, because you have to get the specific numbers variables for like it's going to the right place, and plus you have to account for the price rooms in the woodshop, so you can expect a lot of sawdust. Which, yeah, it's kind of an effector, so we like have to clean it, and we have to make sure it's in a specific spot because one of the things, you have a little gripper attachment, and like you drive it to a pipe thing to twist it and get a bunch of cylinder that's supposed to represent wire drop out, but it kept cutting either too close or too far away. So we had to like get the specific number and to like look up close to get it specific.
Even those little differences can add up to so much. Lindsay, you having spent some time in the robotics club and team here at Brevard Middle School, you mentioned that there's one 6th grader on this year's team who got a really unique experience, one that you didn't have when you were in elementary school.
Yeah, so she was actually able to join a club at Pisgah Forest Elementary that had been started after I had left like 3 years ago. And so she this year got to join the team because she already had the experience that most needed to join the team. And so what does that mean? When you realize that students coming along behind you will have even more experience because robotics is something in their elementary schools, what do you think that might mean for this team? I think it might grow a little bit more and there might be a little more interest, and now he can add more 6th graders each year rather than it just being a strictly 7th and 8th grade team, because 8th graders are going to leave the next year, so then that leaves gaps in that he has to fill. Right. Mr. Osborne, last word from you. Some students might think that when they learn how to code and start working with robots, they might end up in some of the really high-profile positions. We heard some discussion before starting today's show about possibly getting into some background activities, seeing where your computer activities might take you in the world. Or we recently had folks from the ordnance disposal from the armed forces come and visit Brevard High School. When you see students taking on these tasks and learning to work as a team in these highly technical areas, what's your biggest hope for students? What do you see them able to do as they go on to high school and beyond?
For this class, it's not, or for this team, it's more about learning what they can do. When I was a kid, I would never have thought that I would be in a middle school programming robots. That seemed like it was just so advanced. And they come in here and see that it's not only easy, but they can program the robots to do something very complicated. And then they start thinking, they start solving the problem of the project. Well, we could make something. Well, we can come up with an idea, but can we actually make it? And then they actually build a physical object that works, that is using real world coding and involves a lot of wiring of a circuit board to work. And they are making that happen. And it's giving them a chance to see what they are capable of as far as skills go. And it gives them a little peek at several different industries. Even if they don't go that route, they start to kind of see that anything is possible when you spend that time and you really kind of make it a priority in life.
Justin Osborne, career and technical education teacher and the robotics team advisor here at Brevard Middle School. Thank you so much. Hope everyone will come out and see the Smart Pipe team demonstration at the Expo Thursday, January 25th from 6 to 7 o'clock at the Transylvania County Library. Thanks again, Mr. Osborne.
Thank you.
And team members, thank you for taking some time out of your Blue Devil time to share your story of being on the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for staying with us. My name is Kevin Smith, and we bring you this show TCSES every week on Thursday afternoons from 3:25 to 4 o'clock. We hope you'll be with us again next week, but come to the Expo tonight, 6 to 7 p.m. at the County Library. Until next time, take care.